Hello and welcome to this student edition of Stories of La Frontera. I'm Phoebe Aoe.
And I'm Aguilar. Thank you for joining us.
Today we report from both sides of the international border, a region unlike any other.
We're sharing compelling stories about people and places that make living in this border region unique.
The lifestyle and fashion of the rich and famous is envied and copied by many. But what if those role models are actually key members of Mexican drug cartels and their hitmen?
As Micaela Arroyo tells us today, narco moda is more than just a fashion trend.
It's a look like no other. Guns, skulls, and bullet holes on shirts, rosaries not used for praying, and mock bulletproof vests, all to the tune of narco corridos.
Este es un nuevo movimiento, algo diferente, algo nuevo, y las calaveras y las granadas siguen sobresaliendo, viejo.
This narco fashion is part of a growing trend spreading rapidly on both sides of the border. Lyrics that talk about narco life and how great it is to be a bloodthirsty killer. But followers insist they don't praise the narcos themselves, but instead just the fashion.
Pues muchos piensan que estamos venerando, que le estamos festejando a los narcos. No, no es eso, sino que esto es una forma de expresarnos de nuestra forma de vestir y nuestra forma de hablar.
El narcotráfico sí se ha convertido en un referente importante a partir del cual se definen proyectos de vida de una gran cantidad de mexicanas y de mexicanos, y en ese sentido entenderíamos como narcocultura esta presencia del narcotráfico como un referente que orienta, que define el sentido y significado de vida y de muerte de sectores importantes de nuestra población.
Lyrics in narco corridos have turned into explicit depictions of what gangsters do to their victims. They talk about the weapons they use, the drug of choice, and their code names. Interpreters of this narco music often wear flamboyant outfits with camouflage jackets or pecheras and ski masks that cover their faces, just like real sicarios or hitmen do when they film themselves killing their victims. Narco musicians are known to boast weapons on stage and use them as props in concerts and music videos. Fans can't seem to get enough. They follow in their footsteps, imitating their style of dress, sporting t-shirts with faces of Mexican drug lords, skulls, assault rifles, and grenades.
Me gusta porque lo de Anthrax pues dice como que más, se nota más de lejos con el blanco, con el resalta negro.
Musicians that sing narco songs are often hired to perform at private parties, and while they are paid absorbent amounts of money, their lives are often in danger for doing it. Sergio Vega, better known as El Chaca, was brutally killed in Sinaloa when he was on his way to a performance. In 2010, Edgar Valdez Villarreal, La Barbie, confessed to Mexican authorities that Vega was murdered for not singing to a particular drug cartel. Still, El Commander, who's been known to write and perform narco corridos, does not feel threatened.
No vivo con miedo. Creo no tener problema con con nadie, ¿verdad? Creo no haber ofendido a nadie. Y si alguien ofendí por ahí en una de mis canciones, pues les pido una disculpa.
Thanks to social media and the internet, narco fashion and narco music is gaining as much momentum in the United States as it once did in Mexico. And as long as the drug trade thrives and fans continue to buy their music and imitate their dress, there is no end in sight.
An instructor at a university in Tijuana is being honored for her award-winning documentary exposing the world of human smuggling. It's directed by Adriana Trujillo Mendez. So what inspired her to reveal the secrets of this smuggler, and how did the filmmaker get Felix to open up to her? Claudia Simona spoke with the director to find out.
Félix nos encontró a nosotros en lugar de nosotros encontrarlo a él. Fue muy curioso, pero él buscaba un asistente de dirección para una película donde él contaba su propia vida, y fue como cuando durante el rodaje, durante el trabajo de esa película, que me di cuenta que además de actor era traficante de personas.
You mentioned that Felix is also an actor. So is this film fiction?
Félix es un personaje real. Félix ha vivido durante más de 30 años en Tijuana y ha transgredido la frontera de diferentes formas, pero al mismo tiempo él es un personaje creado por sí mismo.
Those of us who know La Frontera know that human smuggling is nothing new, but is this a new trend, finding Americans to smuggle?
Contratar a estadounidenses creo que es uno de los métodos que Félix comenta que fue de los primeros en Tijuana que lo realizó. Pero creo que no es un método nuevo, creo que se sigue utilizando de diferentes formas.
What is a message you would like viewers to walk away with?
El documental hoy en día como género se ha ausentado de discursos que objetivizan al otro o que desean expresar solo una realidad totalizadora. Creo que hoy el género documental nos permite reflexionar a partir de la imagen audiovisual sobre lo complejo de las identidades culturales. Y creo que Félix es un personaje y una identidad muy compleja, y la película nos permite ver a través de sus propias realidades la forma en la que él se ve y se concibe esta complejidad. Entonces, dejo la respuesta en la audiencia cada vez que ven la película.
Thank you very much for this interview, Adriana. It was a pleasure being with you. Thank you.
The documentary has already won 5 big awards, including one from the Guadalajara International Film Festival.
Close to 400,000 illegal immigrants were deported from the United States last year. That's the highest number of deportations in history. Now, many of those people are stuck in Tijuana. And Jane Venegas takes us to a shelter where volunteers provide the most basic needs.
The journey for 24-year-old Hernan lasted over a month. Like many native Hondurans, he made his way to Tijuana, hopping through dangerous trains and trekking through deadly terrain by foot.
Ya para abordar el primer tren, los golpearon, nos robaron todo lo que llevábamos, ropa. Caminamos descalzos como 40 minutos, caminamos esos minutos descalzos, mis pies no sentía que traía nada, nomás pura sangre.
But the mental and emotional damage was even worse. Hernan spent the entire trip hiding from Mexican immigration officials and thugs who took advantage of the immigrants.
En el tren que venía yo, mataron a una muchacha solo por una comida que no sé, no preguntó a ella, nomás solo la agarró y sin preguntar y se la comió, con toda su cabeza reventada. Y pues son cosas que en mi mente todavía cuando estoy durmiendo se me imaginan.
Just like thousands of others, he left his loved ones, his homeland, and his culture behind, hoping for a chance at the American dream. But that dream had no guarantees. Father Ernesto Ruiz has seen the story repeat itself over and over again.
Pues la gente viene de muchísimas partes. La mayoría son migrantes, deportados, mexicanos, de distintas partes del país. Y aunque se está dando un aumento considerable también de personas de Centro y Sudamérica.
Father Hernandez is the coordinator of the Cilician Breakfast, Cilician being an institution within the Catholic Church. It's a one-of-a-kind shelter in Tijuana, which provides a hot meal to more than 3,500 immigrants every day. The breakfast is made possible by the efforts of volunteers like Hernan. Today, he finds himself living at the shelter. After 2 failed attempts to cross into the U.S., Hernan gave up. Here, he has a home in exchange for cooking, cleaning, and helping Father Hernandez any way he can.
Un señor un día se levantó y me dijo, no vamos a ir a comer donde Padre Chava. ¿A dónde es eso? Le digo, aquí, caminá, seguime. Y aquí encontré, platiqué con el Padre, lo que de dónde venía, le conté mi historia de dónde venía. Y él me ofreció su ayuda y su apoyo y estoy aquí.
The breakfast is known in Tijuana as Desayunador del Padre Chava, in memory of its founder, Father Salvador Romo. 13 years ago, it started as a small project against hunger. But as the number of migrants increased, their services also began to expand. Now the hungry line up as early as 5 a.m., waiting for up to 3 hours for a hot meal.
El cual se lleva un complemento vitamínico.
Here, there's medical care for minor injuries and illnesses, and an opportunity to make a long-distance phone call to their families, who oftentimes wait for months to hear of their fate.
This month marks 14 years since they first opened. They just built a 2nd and 3rd floor where they have bedrooms and showers that hold up to 80 people. Now this is for everyone. However, they want to focus more on the kids and women that have nowhere to sleep at night.
The center also shares a Christian belief of helping others by offering them a fresh start in life, the dignity of washing their hands, and a prayer for giving thanks. For Hernan, it's a small price to pay, who says he will never forget his journey, a journey he wouldn't advise anyone else to take.
Dije yo, hasta que yo no mire con mis propios ojos, hasta ahí dejaré de saberlo, pero ya lo reconocí. Y esas cosas pues no se lo deseo a nadie.
If you'd like to make a donation, contact the organizers at the number on your screen.
Well, he's a sports personality, a professor, and now a published author. His name is Beto Gurmilan, and he was involved in an accident when he was a teenager.
But as Annnette Chacon tells us, he turned a tragedy into a story of success.
It's just another day in the life of Humberto Gurmilan. He is a very busy man. Not only is he a sports journalist for Telemundo, he also finds time to teach a speech class at San Diego City College. But it hasn't been easy for this 34-year-old Chula Vista native. At the age of 16, Gurmilan had a surfing accident that changed his life forever.
That Friday I went out like every other day. I went out surfing. What happened is I dove in off my board into the water and hit the bottom of the ocean head first. And what happened is I broke my neck. I ended up instantly paralyzed from my neck down.
Gurmilan went through a difficult recovery, but with the support of his family and friends, went back to school and graduated with a degree in journalism. And now he has written his first book with a glimpse of the challenges he had to face on his way back to recovery.
Desde mi silla, if you translate it in English, it's from my chair. And it starts with the morning I woke up, the day of my accident. And it takes the reader through the whole rehab process, through the whole reincorporation into society.
Beto, as his friends call him, is a true example that anyone can make their dreams happen. And now he has a different outlook of life.
I think I went through a lot of things that made me realize and made me understand the importance of enjoying the little things, enjoying life. Is being an example to others and helping people understand those things that I mentioned about living your life to the fullest.
Beto Gurmilan's book has just been published in English and is now available online.
December 12th is a special day around the world for millions of people known as Guadalupanos.
And on this side of the border, many worshipers go to Catholic churches, mostly in Latino communities, to celebrate La Virgen de Guadalupe. Jane Smith takes us to Barrio Logan for a vibrant tribute honoring the Blessed Mother.
Hundreds of worshipers in Barrio Logan gather at a shrine outside of Our Lady of Guadalupe Catholic Church. A sea of candles in the darkness cast a dim light on their faces. But just like these candles, their faith is glowing.
La Virgen de la Guadalupe means to me everything. I hope she takes care of me, takes care of my cousins and families.
The atmosphere is one of joy and celebration. Food vendors and merchants line up outside the church selling everything from tamales and hot chocolate to trinkets and statues bearing the Virgen's image. But there is a serious side to the celebration too. The now famous apparition occurred on December 12, 1531. It's believed the Virgen herself suddenly appeared to Juan Diego, an Indian peasant, while he was walking the catechism classes just north of Mexico City.
She told Juan Diego who she was, the ever-Virgin Mother of God. She told him not to be afraid of anything. I am always here, I'm your mother.
According to the legend, the Virgen appears 2 more times. During her final visit, a rosebush appears in the December cold. Juan Diego picks the roses to show to the bishop. As he presents the roses, the image of the Virgen suddenly appears on his cloak. That's why many parents dress their children as mestizo peasants on this day to pay tribute to Juan Diego and La Virgen de Guadalupe.
It's like her birthday. So, and as you hear the bells, that means that the celebration has just started.
Many of the children that are dressed don't seem to fully understand why they are here or why they are dressed this way, but still they gladly participate and seem guided by their faith.
I went once to the basilica, the old basilica, and I saw people crawling on their knees down the main street, miles on their knees, bloody. The love of the people, Mexican people, for Mary is just incredible.
23-year-old Isabel Cardenas says she walked here barefoot on this chilly evening as a way of thanking the Virgen.
Mi papá está enfermo y le dije que si me lo aliviaba, iba a venir yo así.
Ella respondió sí por sí misma.
Inside the church, it's standing room only at this Mass, a sign of just how many people honor this day.
This year, We had the biggest crowd that I've ever seen. Thousands and thousands of people came, and it's all because of her.
The celebration begins a little earlier in Mexico City. Hundreds of faithful set up tents and camp outside the Basilica on the days prior to December 12th.
And at the stroke of midnight, there's a mass with dozens of celebrities gathered inside a church to show their devotion.
And La Virgen de Guadalupe makes another unexpected appearance, this time under a bridge in Encinitas.
Youtsey brings us the story of an artist and his vision for the surfing Madonna.
There is a little taco shop down the street called Juanitas, and they give out these little pocket calendars. And I always liked the Virgin of Guadalupe calendar that they had. In 2005, I drew a picture of the Virgin of Guadalupe on a surfboard. She had a couple of dolphins surfing next to her board, and she had a crown of stars. And in 2009, I drew a much more detailed version. I really spent time on it and developed it. And I thought, well, there must be something to this. I need to pay attention.
After talking it over with family and friends, Mark took off for Ravenna, Italy and the Luciana Naturi Mosaic School. Simple was not the path for Mark.
I had a little picture of the Virgin Guadalupe, and I said, I need to make this. And I came back with her face completed.
Feeling inspired, Mark quit his job and spent the better part of a year toiling away in his garage to bring his vision alive. His friend Bob was his only knowledgeable supporter.
He asked me to come over and stand on this blank sheet of paper that he had sketched from one of my surfboards. And I stood on the surfboard and I said, this is about, how you stand on a wave like this.
After 9 months, the Madonna was complete and the opportunity to display this creation arrived.
One day we heard a bunch of sirens and there was a big fire in the north part of Leucadia, and we decided right now is the time to do this.
Dressed like construction engineers, it took them over an hour and a half to hang the sculpture.
At one point, the fire department came by after the fire and said, hey, what are you guys doing down here? And I said, we're doing recalibration measurements on the bridge. They bought that.
The two friends then disappeared, and the firestorm that became the Surfing Madonna was lit. People from all walks of life were discovering the Madonna on the surfboard, but the reception was not completely welcome.
There was a split of feeling on the city council about whether it should be just taken down and trashed or preserved as a piece of art.
Myself and Councilwoman Houlihan were both really enthusiastic about, oh, this is great art and this so represents our community, but the mayor and deputy mayor at the time and the former city manager, they were pretty straight arrow bureaucrats, and this is not the way you do things.
The city attorney was making overt threats, directly threatening to prosecute us, and I said, well, you know what? While you're busy prosecuting Mark in a court of law, I'm going to be busy prosecuting you in the court of a public opinion.
The Madonna was eventually returned to Mark after paying the cost of removal and a fine. The city actually fought to place the Madonna in a more suitable and safe location, but the Department of Parks denied them access, citing religious content.
I'm Catholic. I grew up in this area. My father is Mexican. The Guadalupe has been always a part of my family tradition. You see it everywhere. Baseball caps, paintings. It's just a part of the Mexican heritage on both sides of the border. So I didn't see it as either religious or sacrilegious. I saw it cultural.
The Madonna was not without its many supporters, including local property owner Keith Harrison, who found her a home here between Cafe Ipe and Surfy Surfy in Encinitas.
It kind of helps weave a deeper fabric in the community that adds tons of value.
I'm not sure if people that are religious felt that was like a benefit or like a positive reaction with Madonna on a surfboard, but I know that anything that has to do with protecting the oceans is a benefit.
With help from friends and supporters, Mark converted the notoriety into the Surfing Madonna Oceans Project, a nonprofit dedicated to maintaining our oceans for our future.
It was intended to be a gift. It didn't turn out that way, but actually the way it turned out was way beyond what I could have ever expected. So I'd say the long run, it was a bumpy road, but it was worth it. it was worth the ride.
Cafe Ipe carries a special blend of coffee named after the Surfing Madonna, and the artist Mark Patterson says he's looking forward to doing more mosaic projects.
As the holiday season winds down, Latin America and Latinos in the U.S. continue with a celebration called Dia de los Reyes. Paul Kruze was there as a group of friends took part in the tradition.
For this group of San Diego and Tijuana binational communications professors, the holiday season is continuing with Christendom's post-Christmas holiday on the first Sunday of January, known as the Epiphany, or as it's known in Mexican culture, Dia de los Reyes. That's when it said the Magi, the three wise men, bearing gifts, visited the baby Jesus shortly after his birth.
In the Mexican culture, this is also seen as a very special day because children receive presents just as baby Jesus received his presents.
In every rosca, a small figurine of the Christ child is placed in the middle of the bread. It is a very old tradition that is still going very strong in 2013. Baking and selling the roscas is a big business for bakeries and supermarkets, such as this Northgate Market in southeast San Diego.
Para hacer un proceso y preparar nuestra rosca tenemos el mix, que es la harina preparada. Tenemos 20 minutos de preparación en el mix. Aparte tenemos que darle la forma de la rosca, incluirle los 5 monos que lleva la rosca. Después de hacer el molde de la rosca, se le pone una mezcla que le llamamos pasta, la fruta que es acitrón rojo, acitrón verde, acitrón blanco e higos. Después de eso se mete al horno por 325 grados a tiempo de 25 minutos para que salga la rosca ya lista.
So while the Dia de los Reyes holiday is about good eats and having a good time, it is also about tradition, friendship, and fellowship.
During the past holiday season, the Northgate Market in southeast San Diego prepared nearly 9,000 loaves of bread.
Well, downtown Tijuana is an up-and-coming hub for local arts and culture, but it didn't always have that reputation.
We met a group of locals who remember the city's heyday and are now trying to breathe new life into old spaces.
This building hasn't embraced an audience in years.
El Cine Roble tuvo las mejores películas que se exhibieron digamos, en Tijuana.
Its marquee is crumbling.
Una pantalla magnífica con una excelente visualización.
Its steel frame exposed. Believe it or not, this unremarkable structure was once part of Tijuana's vibrant past. It started out as a bullring in the 1930s. And in the 50s, transformed into an elegant single-feature movie theater called Cine Roble. Carlos Romo calls the 2 decades that followed the city's golden years.
Era un paraíso vivir en Tijuana. Era un nivel de vida espléndido. Las calles se veían llenas de turismo, la revolución, las calles, las tiendas. Era la vida tan barata, baratísimo.
The seats at Cine Roble were full too, with moviegoers lining up to see first-run and classic films from Mexico and abroad. Elizabeth Valdez remembers it well.
My father being the manager of the movie theaters in northern Baja California, well, I grew up going free to the movie theaters. So I had lots of fun as a child and lots of friends.
Not only that, she actually lived above the Roble.
From here all the way up to here. This was the penthouse. It was just fun being up there, but when it was an important show, like a new movie, it would get so packed that we wouldn't even be able to leave our home because there were so many people outside waiting to get in to see a special engagement.
By the late 60s, the impact of television was undeniable. Former Cine Roble employee Ricardo Figueroa Jauregui explains how the theater responded.
Se hizo una gran inversión en el Cine Roble cuando se hizo Dimensión 150, que fue lo más novedoso.
But the novelty of the widescreen was short-lived. Over the next 2 decades, government funding dried up. Small multi-screen theaters took over, and there was more bad news. The advent of video, restricting trade regulations, and an increase in border security all seemed to conspire against the old movie houses.
The curtains closed for the last time in the early 1990s. The famous neon Cine Roble letters disappeared, and the landmark faded into the background, as did many businesses over the next several years throughout Tijuana.
Miguel Buenrostro remembers what finally became of downtown.
3 years from now, or 4 years from now, I used to walk down Avenida Revolucion and there was nothing going on. It was kind of shady, it was kind of creepy.
But the Tijuana local gained a new take after leaving his hometown for a year in 2011.
When I came back, I just saw the city with new eyes, with new possibilities and a new energy.
And when he realized the future face of the city depended on locals,
that American that came 20, 30 years ago is not coming back.
Miguel became active with a Tijuana-based organization committed to transforming forgotten spaces. Only a year ago, this abandoned arcade was being used as a shooting gallery by drug addicts. That's when Reactivando Espacios stepped in.
Since we started working, it caught the attention of several artists from around the area. It caught the attention of small business owners, creative owners. We have like a print shop there. We have a coffee shop, spaces where architects work. We have gained the attention of that particular creative class in our city.
It was quiet the day we visited, but on a busy art walk weekend, it's elbow to elbow with hipsters. This is another location Reactivando Espacios promotes. Its remodeling has already brought jobs to downtown. And when its doors open, it will welcome local and foreign visitors alike as a live performance venue. Wondering where we are? This beehive of activity is none other than the interior of the old Cine Roble building. The space has come full circle.
I'm very pleased that it's being renovated and not demolished because that keeps my father's legacy alive.
And if you listen carefully, you just might hear both the past and the future.
Investors are pouring over $2 million into the Cine Roble renovation.
No word yet on what the theater's name will be, but it is expected to be open later this year. Well, thank you so much for watching this student edition of Stories de la Frontera. I'm Phoebe Aoe.
And I'm Aguilar. Hasta la próxima.